It will simply share with you what needs to be reflected on and perhaps the kind of steps one might take. But if there is ego involved in it, you have to question it. So you have to let go of ego. You have to let go of prescribed outcomes and be willing to just show up and listen. And then you have to see how it feels in your body. I mean, your body is an incredibly divine instrument for divining truth. And so if it's settling somewhere that's giving you a stomach ache and feeling like, God, it doesn't feel right to do that or say that to that person, you're probably not getting, you're probably not tapped into the highest source of wisdom.
Exactly.
And that doesn't mean it can't be uncomfortable. It might be uncomfortable sometimes when it suggests, say, for example, perhaps it's time that you speak to this one about this thing.
So you might not like what they're telling you, but exactly, it might be good advice.
Yeah, you might not like it. It might not be comfortable, but this is not something that's disempowering. It's always with an eye toward empowerment. So
that's the key, I think, is respect. And if you notice disrespect, then there's something wrong with you should not, I mean, I personally would not talk to such an entity.
No, not at all. And any entity that puts themselves above you or makes you dependent upon them, absolutely not. Those are,
to me, those are forms of disrespect.
Gods.
Yeah, exactly.
Those are like false gods with a little g, right? And so I say for anybody, those are really, really simple kind of tenets to follow. You have to be respected. Yeah.
And then the other thing I want to make sure we cover today, and I see we're getting short on time, so I want to go right to it, if you don't mind, because you've interviewed so many scientists, so many of the greatest original thinkers who get into topics that are not mainstream at all. I mean, this has been a place you have just thrived. You definitely have that niche. And one of the things that I find most remarkable is, I think you've mentioned it in your book too, that these people keep the faith in their knowledge, in their commitment. They stay on their path, and they do this despite subjecting themselves to people's judgments and ridicule. You know, of course, you're doing that too, so am I, but you have been in this perfect catbird seat of seeing so many of these people doing this for decades. And do you have any tips or observations on how they're doing this so you could encourage people out there to do the same thing?
Well, it keeps kind of going back full circle to this thing I said in the beginning. All of these individuals are following their inner directive, their dharma, their passion. And the thing that sees them through these uncomfortable moments of judgment from others, perhaps even rejection by colleagues, perhaps even being stripped of tenure for daring color outside of the lines, is this passion and belief in what they're doing. And I think it's fair to say, and Cynthia, you may know this as well, that because you're one of the people I greatly admire. I love the explorations you're doing in your work. And, you know, there's a sacrifice sometimes on the other side. There was a sacrifice in my own life. I could have stayed in the media. I had the opportunity to be a news anchor in Los Angeles after the whole NBC thing and live at large, very, very high salary and so forth. But I realized I don't want to live like that. I don't want my son to live there and like that. That's not what I'm choosing for my life. So I chose to live kind of financially on the edge, a great part of my life, but I never went without a meal. If you have any creativity, you can always make a beautiful life. So you don't need a lot of money to make a beautiful life. But what you do need is a lot of wonderful friendships. You know, for me, friendship has been really key. I hold on to, you know, I tend to sustain relationships for a long period of time, and I have a lot of friends. And that really mattered to me, is to feel community. But even within that, a lot of my friends didn't understand why I was doing what I was doing. So there are moments that are lonely.
Yeah.
It's lonely doing work that is not accepted by mainstream thinking. And the reality is, in the Hermetic view of it, is interesting. They say there are those who come as thought leaders to help guide humanity at a given point in time into the next level of understanding. Then the next strata of people are the ones who are called in marketing terms the early adopters, who are open-minded. They're waiting to have a wonderful new seed brought to them to mull over and embrace. and embody. And there's that layer. Then just beyond that, there's the next most open-minded layer, which you'll see in the more progressive kind of publications on diet, health, nutrition, psychology, archaeology, whatever. And then you have the mainstream. You're always, if you're going to push the envelope bringing new material, you're always going to be in a fairly narrow band with a somewhat narrow band of people that relate to what you're doing. And you have to be willing to accept that. And no, you're not here for the masses. That's not what you came to do.
And I want to just say, sometimes amazing synchronicities and things put you in exactly that place. I have to, sorry to interrupt, but you are definitely one of these thought leaders, thank goodness, because I was so stunned to see that you occasionally babysat our new governor of California, Gavin Newsom. I mean, this is amazing. Obviously, this was all lined up. I'm sure you had, who knows what happened and what influence you had, but oh my goodness.
Probably absolutely none, and I'm sure he doesn't remember me one bit, but because he was a little guy, 6, 7, 8 years old. My very first husband, when I was quite young, I was married to a man who really became my mentor, a wonderful man who was a bit older than me, and his law partner was Gavin Newsom's father. And they were off on all kinds of adventures together. And so every now and then, Gavin would come over when he was a little guy, and I was in my early 20s, and I would babysit him when Bill was in a pinch. and of course, sadly, Gavin's father passed away a few weeks ago, just after he was elected governor. But I know that Bill was very, very, very proud of him. And Bill was a wonderful, open-minded man. I just adored Bill Newsom Sr., his father. He was an adorable human being, very open-minded and progressive and funny. And I think that he passed on a lot of the richness of thinking to Gavin. So we got to give him a go. We'll see how he does.
Yes,
he doesn't need babysitting anymore.
Well, I'd love to know if there's anything there's so much more we could talk about. It's crazy. Your book is rich with travel experiences and including trips to India, the Middle East. You've had amazing epiphanies about Egyptian hieroglyphs and so much more. I wanted to get to all this, but we can't do it all in 1 hour. So I just want to ask you, is there anything that you especially want to make sure we talk about before we close this out?
No, I think we really covered that in that one thing, which is I just wish for everyone to be able to tap in and really respect their own divine genius. And every person has a genius, and it doesn't matter what it looks like, but to tap into it, to explore it, play with it, express it, is what we're here to do. And then the rest of life can just wash over. We're never going to be perfect. When we're on our deathbed, there's lessons we will not have learned. But if we did that thing, we're going to feel like it was definitely a life well lived. So that's what I would leave you with. And I thank you so much for your graciousness and the time and inviting me on your show.
Oh my gosh, it's been awesome. And I'd love to know if you could share with people how to get in touch with you, how to find out more about your work. What you're doing now is your main website.
Yeah. Well, reginameredith.com, and I'm doing the same thing I do for Gaia. I'm doing interviews with people that I choose, that I love, and find interesting. So you can go there for that. And for the people that support my site, my patrons, I also do live events where, like this, we can have live Q&A where they have access to me and I to them a couple times a month, and that's really fun. I also do some commentary in vlogs that are available to them. So, and I'm getting ready to launch. In fact, last night was our first one, a book club, a virtual book club where we all get together through Crowdcast live event once a month, and I will be inviting the author on about partway through the conversation when possible, so we can have a really rich discussion about some books that I feel have some value for all of us.
Wonderful. And the website again is reginameredith.com. Perfect. Oh my gosh. What a joy to have you today. And I'm just going to close out with my favorite question, how good can it get? As we're thinking about all these great ideas, bringing this concept into our heart of tapping into your own divine genius. Thank you so much, Regina, for being with us today.
Thank you. Thank you, Cynthia.
Thank you for listening to this edition of Living the Quantum Dream with your host, Cynthia Sue Larson of RealityShifters.com. Join Cynthia next time in visualizing and accessing whole new worlds of possibility on Evolutionary Voices for the Quantum Age, heard Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Eastern on the Dream Vision 7 Radio Network.
This is Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with universal love. Our shows are created from the heart, bringing each listener to a place of divine enlightenment. Breathe, relax, and enjoy. Let life flow.